Who are the Yael?
The Yahyel are a civilization of human beings that expand through several galaxies. One of those you've heard of being the one you're part of, the Milky Way galaxy. As you name it, we have other names for it. There are other civilizations that live in it that have other names, even different from ours. So it is the idea of past. There are civilizations that go back and back and back and back in time, and civilizations that go forward and forward and forward into future time. Basically, you could say we are human beings, very similar in physical appearance to those of Earth humans. But we have a very different, you could say, hmm, perception of thought and experience and awareness of the nature of existence, such that we are able to experience life in enjoyable, fulfilling, meaningful ways every day in whatever is going on in our world.
And in what way do they look like us?
Very similar, you could say, the human characteristics that you find here on Earth, very similar to that. A little bit shorter in general. Some are taller in that way, and some perhaps a little bit thinner than typically you would find on average here of Earth humans in that way. Our eyes in that are a bit larger as well, a little bit, kind of like a little bit of a to the side teardrop shape. And our skulls are quite similar, maybe a little bit different on average in shape in that sense, yes. And so it is, the skin can be a little bit of a different coloration, perhaps a little bit of a shade of blue in general, but not a bright blue, just a very delicate shading of blue that you particularly in your world don't see in that way. But it is then, there are variations.
And so we would, if they were to be walking around on Earth, we would notice that they're different.
Yes, if you saw us walk past you, you would perhaps think we were from another region of Earth. Typically, you wouldn't think, oh, they're aliens, because we look similar enough. Just you would think, it must be from a different part of planet Earth, in a sense.
And so we share some similar DNA?
Yes, that is the idea. There is DNA that we have, that you have a very similar. In some instances, there is the idea of overlap of genetic material in that way. Some of that is due to genetic, you could say, alterations done intentionally, and some of that is through evolution over time, through inbreeding in a sense, which occurs as some of our civilizations and some of your civilizations, you could say some of your past and present and future civilizations have been, you could say, on other planets, where some of our civilizations, for there's more than one Yael civilization, have grown up together in that way, and that you could say have had children in a more, what you would think of perhaps how you in your world typically procreate, in that idea of bringing forth children. That is something that in more of an organic, perhaps you would think of a form of evolution. Yeah.
And so are there hybrid programs between humans and the Yael?
There are some of those that do take place, yes, but it is a very more detached and at a much slower level than some extraterrestrial civilizations are involved in. Some extraterrestrial civilizations have a very accelerated level of hybridization, of interaction DNA with their, you could say, DNA, and that of a extraterrestrial to them human DNA in a sense, including some of those of Earth humans. Some Earth humans have been, you could say, genetically accelerated from some other extraterrestrial civilizations, but that then is not something that the immediate civilization that I am a part of within the Yael have been involved with. We are aware of some of that, but there are other extraterrestrial civilizations more involved in accelerated DNA hybridization with Earth humans over the past, you could say, a couple 100,000 years, generally in speaking. Some all exceptions to that timeline.
Do humans have a majority percentage of DNA from a specific civilization?
Earth humans?
Share? Yeah.
There are a couple that are, you could say, much more predominant, such that it would seem to be the norm for most people here on Earth today. But the idea of just specifically which extraterrestrial civilization that is not for me to say at this time. It is not then of the Yael. But ours is so similar that it is one of the reasons we may, even at this timing, still become the first to arrive here in that way, to have in that way open, peaceful, enjoyable interactions with those in your world in multiple locations at, you could say, almost the same time.
And do the Yael walk amongst us already?
There are some of us who do come and go at times. There may be some who have a regular, you could say, visitation, living here on Earth in a sense, on a more prolonged basis. But that isn't something those then that would be doing that I am in contact with. Those of us of my immediate Yael civilization, it's very brief, typically for various educational purposes.
And so when will this open contact happen according to the current timeline?
So the idea of open contact, more the idea of actually arrivals, even where there are large numbers of us arriving, where you know we are going to be arriving, you know where it will be, and you know to be there if you want to be a part of that. This then will occur in the appropriate timing. The idea, it isn't set on a calendar when that will occur. It has to do with how your civilization's consciousness evolves, becomes more open to the idea, understands that we exist, who we are, our relationship to your Earth human's soul and spirit and other lifetimes that you've had with us, lifetimes you have with us when you are asleep. And for many of you have other physical incarnations when you are asleep. You are embodying some of those physical incarnations that are a part of our civilization as well. So you become more aware of your lifetimes in those simultaneous lifetimes, part of our civilization. Then you will begin to realize when we are connecting most resonant with you, such that you are most resonant with us. So there's more of a similarity sufficient enough in vibrational, physically and mentally and emotionally and intentionally and co-creationally, that it will be so similar in vibration that we will easily be able to be here with you and resonate with you. So the process of how that unfolds is very complex, very delicate as well, and there's an immense amount of power and co-creative energy involved in that process, such that the actual time when that will be is something that does not come through at this time, for it has not been in that sense set in stone. It has not been in that sense set on a calendar, like a date, such and such time and date and location.
And will it be the kind of event that, like, the press will be aware of, or people kind of on a level where it can be broadcast, or will it be just smaller civilizations, smaller communities of people in a more private way? Like, what does it look like?
There will be more of the individual feeling and knowing where to go and when to go there. And this, then they will meet up with others who have a similar feeling, and that will bring them together, and that will share then some of those more like a community group gathering, desire to meet, knowing they're going in a sense to do a similar experience. They start to, as a group, there will be some group activities going to these locations and these timings. There may be some, in a sense, you could say, of some media that is a part of this realization, bringing forth recording devices in that form of, you could say, video and film capturing of these situations, these connections, these arrivals. But again, this is something that will be happening for Earth humans in a way they feel very happy about, very joyous, very excited about. And it will then be a sense where those in your world are not in any way frightened. There will not be this need for the idea of having some defending, in a sense. No need for any sense of that militaristic kind of approach, just in case things get out of hand. You will realize that isn't something that is going to be occurring, and you will all feel very heart opened within the connection to the open galaxy, open heart, extraterrestrial communication, interactive network, communication highway.